Ramon has often said that the South African economy is in ruins, but what if everything we know about the economy is wrong?
Indeed, and this is the thesis of G.G. Alcock, a man who grew up in Zululand. He wrote a book called Kazinomics, which is about the economy of the township and the informal sector of South Africa. Some might say the black market, but that would be a bit racist. And anyway, what Alcock says is that there is so much money being made in the informal economy that SARS doesn't touch, that taxes don't get paid, that regulations don't actually encroach on, that the economy is actually doing much healthier than people might believe.
Informal locations are, in many respects, thriving. People think of them as just being rows and rows and rows of shacks. But that's not actually always how they are. Because in the township economy, they don't follow Western Cape logic of, if I want to build a house, I must apply for a permit. They just go, nah, I want to build a house. So take some bricks there and build a house. And they don't go, oh, I want to build a tavern. I'm going to sell some alcohol. I should probably go down to the liquor board. No, they just put up a bench and sell some liquor. They don't think, I'm going to sell some food. Let's get a food license. They just go, no, I've got a fire and some food. Sell some food. There's one other thing that they also don't do. Pay tax.
Or ask for permission. So a lot of people might think, okay, there's like more shacks than ever and there's like 10 people per shack. Wrong. In the township economy, formal housing has increased dramatically rather than informal housing, and there are fewer people living in each house than ever before. In 94, the average was 4.5 people per house. Now it's 3.5 people per house. What's interesting is that these houses are not being built using home loans. They're being built using informal loans, stock files, and money generated from the township, generally off the grid. So it's an inclusive informal economy that really helps millions of people every single day, and the government cannot touch it.
The reality is Stats SA showed us in the previous census from 2022 that the number of people in formal dwellings has actually increased to 88.5%, which would support these findings, which means that the idea that South Africa is basically largely based on a single roof dwelling where numerous people live is actually wrong. And then what you actually have is you actually have a booming rental economy in the informal locations of 20 billion annually. That's a staggering figure, my friend. It's even more staggering when you think these guys have done something that most whites just would dream about. And that is they've managed to get an income without paying tax on it.
But that's only the housing sector. Shebeens generate 25 billion rand worth of revenue a year. The spaza shop market is worth 160 billion rand. The informal fast food market is close to 50 billion rand. There are billions of rands being made in this country every single year without taxes being paid, without minimum wage being paid, without any of the nonsense regulations the ANC is coming out with that affects them in any single way. And if this is true, if the informal economy is doing so much better than we think, what does that say about our political system in terms of the policies to prevent state failure? The 350 grant doesn't make sense anymore. BEE doesn't make sense anymore. None of the policies of the last 20 years make any sense whatsoever because, believe it or not, Byron, black people can be entrepreneurial. Who would have thought?
One would almost assume that BEE was actually there to keep a brother down and make sure that they couldn't think that they could get above their stations and actually uplift themselves, that they could only do it without the blessing and the help of the state, which is exactly what the state wants you to believe. But the statistics don't show us this, Ramon. In the taxi industry, earning 50 billion alone. And based on the fact that these are all cash in hand businesses, I have no reason to doubt these numbers.
No, me neither. And now that we know the economy is doing a lot better than otherwise, I wonder why the minorities in this country don't try act like they're in the black market. Think about it. The state has receded from the informal sector. Townships are springing up. There are real roads, real people, real houses, real businesses there. Why are we struggling with corporate jobs and paying taxes and all this other nonsense? We need to get that township mindset into the middle class and live off the grid. Make money cash. Don't pay taxes. Don't worry about regulations. Life will be so much easier for everyone, one would think.
Yeah, Ramon, it's almost like the system doesn't want you to believe that, because by staying plugged in to the matrix and going to work and doing your 9 to 5 jobs means you're going to sit there and have your taxes deducted from you by PAYE. Your corporate's going to pay his taxes on fine, and it's going to be nothing more than a slave to the system, my friend. If you really think about it, A corporate job is exactly where the state wants you.
So, in conclusion, the morning shot recommendation of the day is think more like a township dweller and a township businessman. I mean, they're richer than you, they got more cash than you. Think of them as aspirational mentors rather than someone who doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, you might actually want to take a trip to a township and say, hey, Baba, teach me. As the white person, I'm here to learn.